So today I'm making a snack bag. I've stitched the bottom and the lining to the zip, and I've top stitched the zip. Now what I'm going to do is just add the outer onto the zip. This fabric might look a little odd. That's because it's actually water resistant fabric. It's polyurethane laminate. So you can see it's not plastic, it's actually fabric that's been laminated. So water can go through, but it won't be able to come back. This is an impermeable barrier. You can use it for food safe items if the fabric has been rated for food. But you can also use it for things like reusable nappies, reusable sanitary items. So you can see here this side is slightly soft, whereas this side is completely smooth and shiny. That can mean stitching it, particularly over large pieces, it can become exciting, and that's when a Teflon foot is absolutely a good plan. I'm cheating today because it's just a little bag, and I'm not using a Teflon foot. This is just a standard foot. I'm just going to open my zipper up a little bit. So here I've still got a standard stitch length. What's this? This is about 2.5. My tension is normal. Just getting them to line up. Go back the other way. I'm starting about 1 centimetre in on each, and I'll finish about 1 centimetre in. The reason for doing that is that when I put the front and the back on, I will be able to stitch the seam round. So again, I'm just going to top stitch. You don't want to pull this too tight. You can see how much stretch is in this fabric. You don't want to do that, because you can also then get tension in your stitching, and the product will actually curve. It's as I said, sometimes polyurethane laminate fabric is very popular with your swear jar. So I'm just going to match up the ends there. So that's top stitched now. I'll get my label, and I'll clip that on. I'm not using pins because this fabric is water resistant. If you punch a hole in it, the hole is there to stay. So this absolutely must always and only ever be clipped. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to move the lining out the way, and I'm going to clip. I find it easier to stitch it like this because now I'll be able to move my lining as I need to. 1 centimetre seam. see that that's starting to roll because I'm going a bit too fast on a short stitch length. So I'm going to need to just slow down a bit so that things don't get out of too much alignment. Checking that everything's folded over and looking good before I come down here. You can see I'm pulling that lining out of the way. Keep pulling the lining out of the way. And just admire my very accurate cutting there. Oh yes, very accurate. Okay. See, I'm trying really hard not to put too much tension on when I'm stitching. This is going to be a bit exciting because I want to catch that label. There we go. And now I need to get the lining out of the way. The zip is open. Get that lined up. Okay, now I'll get my lining piece, making sure that it's right sides together so you can see the shine on that reverse rather than the front. So right sides together, so my nice matte side. Now it may seem counterintuitive, but with this snack bag I'm going to stitch the lining to the zip. It may seem weird because I've literally just stitched the lining to the outer, but now with this one, when I stitch the lining, the seam allowance is a little bit bigger, sort of 1.2 centimeters. So what's that? About 3/4 of an inch on the lining. You can't do that as much on the inside. I sell these bags, and by law in Australia I must put a label in. So this is a care label that I'm just sliding into the bag so that I can just catch that. So again, pulling that outer away. See how much this moves as fabric under sewing. You can see, look at that tension, and I'm not actually even touching it. It pulls. No pun intended. So over on large pieces, on large bags, pull can be a challenge to sew, because the techniques that you would normally use in sewing fabric, you can't apply a lot of them, I found, because pull fabric just doesn't like it. Okay, so now rather than move the camera, I'll do the trimming here. So we definitely, at minimum, need to trim the corners. I am also going to make this the same. You can see there is my opening for turning out. Again, trim the corners. Let's make these pieces the same. Okay, and now I'll repeat that process with my outer. My zip is too long, intentionally and always, so I can trim it now to size. On both ends. I think this lining is way too big, but we'll see. Obviously had a bit of a moment in my cutting there. So now, having trimmed the edges, the corners and the zip ends, I turn it right side out. There's my care label. So what we do here is we just make sure that we've got good corners on the lining. So the only thing that's being caught here is the zip that is holding the outer to the lining and vice versa. So I'm going to turn it out again. And again, using that hole in the lining, I'm going to go through and just push those corners out on the outer. It's worth doing this because if you don't, you can't get it to sit properly afterwards, and it can be quite annoying. So that's what we're going to have as the finished snack bag. I'm happy with that finished look. So I get the lining out, get it so that it folds over. Get your quilting clips. Smaller ones are obviously better given the size of the bag, but I only have the large ones. Sorry, that corner's not popping out very well. And then with 1/2 centimetre seam, not even, less than 1/4 of an inch, about 1/8 of an inch. And there we go. There's a snack bag in polyurethane laminate.